So on the texture of our toolbox, we also have a sticker. So let's try to recreate a sticker function you can reuse on any other project with any sticker that you like. So we have an example here of a pretty worn sticker, and how you do that is the only thing that you need is basically a colored version of your sticker. So if you have a logo of something, you just export it, but just make sure it doesn't have a background. Make sure the background is transparent, and you can basically have any color that you want. You don't need an alpha or a black and white version of it. We're creating that from the base color itself. So the first thing you want to do is create a new folder. And if you have the paint layer, you want to have the sticker layer above the paint layer. So let's call it sticker 02 and add a fill layer just to show an example. So let's pretend our fill layer is our sticker. So our sticker is going to be this weird round blob, and it's showing all of the detail from the paint layer. So that's not exactly what we want when we create a sticker. If it's a thick kind of paper, it wouldn't really show all the normal and height details, and especially the roughness details from the paint layer underneath. So one way to fix it would be to enable your height and normal and roughness, of course, but as you can see, it's not really doing anything. Even if you apply the normal to every other channel of the fill layer, it won't do anything. The reason being, you have to apply it to all channels on your folder. Now the height will change because the paint layer here has a positive height, and we put it back to 0 with this sticker layer. So just kind of tweak your height layer a tiny bit and it should work. So now you can see that we don't have any of those normal information and the height information from the paint layer onto our sticker. So what you want to do instead of a fill layer is add a paint layer. So you want to make sure it is in the folder of the sticker 02, and you want to alt click on color so it only selects the color. Next up, instead of the paintbrush, you want to go and select this projection tool right here. Click on it and you'll just have a square. Double check if it's only color, and you want to locate your sticker with the transparent background and drag and drop it to the base color. And now you'll have something similar like a stencil, which it pretty much is. You can paint over your sticker wherever you want it to be, and you would have a very simple looking sticker. But we want to elevate it just a tiny bit further. And we're not going to use this fill layer, but we're rather going to use the information of it. So right click and create an anchor point and give it a name, such as sticker 02 base. And you want to give it the same name here. And we want to hide this one because we no longer need it. We just need the information of it. So let's try to add the paper layer, or the most bottom layer of the sticker. So in some cases, when you peel off a sticker, you can see that there's some kind of residue left behind the pure paper without any color variation, almost as if it were made up of 2 or multiple layers. Same can be seen here. You have the main colored layer, so in our case our logo, and then you have just this pure paper left over. This is not always the case, but in some cases it is, so it would be handy to have it in there anyways. So let's go ahead and create a new fill layer this time, and we want to disable the color. We want to create a new mask and add a black mask. Add the anchor point that we just created, so sticker 02 base, and you'll see when we preview the mask that it doesn't really give us a white and black mask. It has some grayscale values, and it wouldn't really show the sticker that well. One way to fix this is to go over here to the bottom left one, the output minimum, and drag it all the way right, or until you no longer see any gray values. So now we have a linear mask that we can use. You can go ahead and add an anchor point to that and call it base sticker 02 undamaged, because it doesn't have any damage. So if we just want to have this, we can go ahead and add a color. You can also add a texture of some paper. You can refine it however much you like, but I'm just quickly going to show this with just a gray color. You can do a height as well if you want. We can always tweak the height later on. You can always establish a roughness. And now we can continue to our damaged version. So you can go ahead and add a fill layer and type in paper and get that paper grunge here. Put it to triplanar and scale it down a tad. Set it to multiply so we get a better overview of what's actually going on. And you can see that we already have some damages. So if we preview it, we can see that the base, most bottom layer is quite damaged already. So you can go ahead and copy the anchor point and call it damage instead. If you want to switch it up even more, you can add the same paper as a fill layer. Click on it again and change up the tiling a little bit. So maybe you want to put it to multiply or whatever works best for you. Tweak the settings a tiny bit more. So just find something that you're happy with. You can always tweak the opacity if it's too much, just to get a little bit of variation in there. So now we have the base sticker, and just call it base sticker. So this is the most bottom layer, so we might want to call it bottom. Now it's time to create the top layer, so our colored version. So create a new fill layer. What I like to do is just to add the sticker in a fill layer at the bottom. So we want to take the sticker 02 base, so we have our information of the color information. And if you want to switch that up, you can just do the same thing. We have the grunge paper ribbed. You could add another fill, grunge paper ribbed. I'm gonna move it there. And of course, we would need to make a mask for that one. So let's keep it hidden for now. We can always come back to it later. So go ahead and add a mask to that one, add a black mask, and then add our clean undamaged version as a fill. So our anchor point, the undamaged version. To switch it up, you can add another grunge paper ripped. Maybe set it to multiply this time. Get some variation in there. And if you'd like, you can paint out stuff with a paint layer. You can paint it out manually with a stencil if you want more variation in there, or some rougher edges. So now if we preview the mask, let's just call this sticker. So now this is our color on top of the actual paper that we have. So to make the paper a little bit more visible in this example, we can give it a red color. So you see exactly where the paper shows up. So we have a little bit of both, but obviously you don't want a red, so we can go ahead and remove that. So now we have a sticker with worn edges. If you were to have a paper sticker, or a paper texture rather, for the base sticker bottom, it would look a ton better rather than a pure white layer, but you can do that yourself. So next up, I kind of want some more variation in the base of the sticker, the bottom part, with some darker or some more yellowed edges. So let's add a new layer and go for a more yellow off-white look. We can make it a little bit more visible to work with. We can always tone it down later on. So let's add a black mask, and let's preview the mask and call it yellow edges sticker 2. And we want to fill it with the anchor point of the damaged sticker 02. So this version right here, we want to invert it because we want to blur the white parts out. So we want to invert it. So let's go ahead and add the blur. And we can change the value later on. So let's copy our anchor point. But instead of setting it to normal, we want to set it to multiply. But don't forget to invert it again, so we have this little halo around it. Now you can add a levels and tweak the black values, tweak the white values a tiny bit more, and we can preview the base color to make it more visible again. And you can see that it already adds a more yellowed off-white look to the edges. You can of course make it darker, make it lighter, whatever you want. And with the same thing, you could do basically whatever you see in the ref here, those little hairs, that little grain effect, a little more ripping effect right here. You can do it with the masks as well. So for now, we just want to keep it at this, maybe switch up the mask even more with a different grunge instead of the paper. Let's try to multiply this one. Change up the contrast, maybe the tiling as well. And that switches up our mask a tiny bit more, and now we have some variation in there. Of course, you can make it more visible to your liking. Then to switch up the sticker a little bit more, you can go back to your sticker color V2 and play around with the grunge paper rip that you've multiplied over it. So you can change the tiling, you can change the seed to just get a little bit more of a randomized look to your sticker. If you don't want it, you can of course paint out stuff with a stencil and you'll get the same result. Of course, you would use a nice stencil, but in this case, I'm just relying on this procedural texture. If you want some height on your sticker, you can give it a height and it'll make some stuff more visible. So it looks like it's actually on top of your paint. After that, you can play around with your mask, add some more scuffs to it, paint stuff out yourself, change some masks. But this pretty much gives you a good result for quick procedural stickers. You can change the stickers here if you want, and you can place new stickers. Just make sure you're using the anchor point sticker 02 base so it doesn't switch up. So now you can apply it to your toolbox with whatever sticker you created or whatever sticker you found online, and it's the same principle. Just create a smart material from that, drag and drop, and you should be good to go.